I don't know if I can say.
Hmm? You look so nice. Hi, everybody. I'm Chica,
And I'm Miss B. And
and
this
this
is
is Untamed
Untamed Thoughts.
Thoughts.
Hey, everybody, welcome. You caught us talking a little bit at the beginning, huh? Chica, I don't know. I don't
You know how
know.
we do.
We are so excited to get to meet all of you. Thank you for
Mhm.
tuning in. Chica, what's up, girl?
Oh, friends, we have a lot to discuss today, and I'm here for it. I'm excited.
I'm excited about it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
I'm excited about it too. I am looking forward to having this conversation with you because I've been trying not to talk to you all week in
Now you
anticipation of
know.
today.
Now you know. Us not, not talking.
I'm really excited about this
Yeah.
because when we talk about everything. So I kind of wanted it to
Everything.
be organic. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted it to be fresh and new so that the
Yes.
people can hear just how we do things, right?
Absolutely.
I got some questions for my sisters
Okay.
out there. I had posted a poll
Mhm.
on Instagram and it talked about relationships and social media. If you could throw that social media flyer up there for a second. I posted this poll on Instagram and I had some people reach out to me in the DMs and the post, it was not that one. It was very, very interesting because I had been talking to a young lady prior to me posting that post and she was having some difficulties with her man and social media. So the post actually said, how many hours a day do you spend stalking your man on social media? Not too many people took the poll, and I encourage if you haven't taken the poll that you run on over to our Instagram and take the poll because I am interested to know how many people actually do this in a
Yes.
day. How many people actually do this for more than 5 seconds every day? Apparently, this is a thing. So we're just going to try to figure out a little bit about that. I'm talking specifically to my sisters today because I find that mostly the sisters are the ones doing this. So I need some answers. I need some answers.
It's definitely a thing. I'll say that. It is definitely a thing. That's what we do.
I got some responses in my DM.
Hmm.
One lady, she said to me, more than I should, meaning I stalk his pages more than I
Hmm.
should. And then one lady actually said that she should receive a paycheck for the amount of hours that she spends checking her man's page. Like,
Wow.
sis, are you serious?
Do you
Like,
not have a
you
job?
exactly. You
I guess that
should,
is the job.
because are people really at work doing this? Are people really at work stalking their partner's pages?
You know, people are doing it all day. From the
Really?
moment they wake up to the, it's ridiculous. It really is because we just it takes one thing to trigger, and we're looking for something, one issue with our significant other, and next thing you know, we are searching and looking because we just know that we're
Okay.
gonna find something.
You just know you're gonna find something.
Yes.
I got to be honest with you. I have some fun facts, and I think he put it up there a few
Mhm.
minutes before time. But the fun fact said most people check partners' social media multiple times in a day. And
Mhm.
then I also found out that not only do they check it multiple times, but a lot of people wake up and actually check their significant other's social media page before they get their day started.
Before we even wipe the crust up.
Oh my goodness. So you're telling me you understand this behavior?
This is what I heard, okay? This is
This is
just
what
what
you.
I heard. I
So,
mean,
so Chica, this is really a thing, is what you're telling me.
of course it's a thing. That's what us women do. Especially when feelings are involved, you are more vested in every aspect, and you want to make sure that your partner's is everything's on the up and up. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not, there should be trust.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, your partner's going to look. There's TNA everywhere, especially all over social media, anywhere online, and there's nothing wrong with looking, it's there, but it's just as long as it doesn't cross that line, and we're always looking to make sure they don't cross that line, because one thing you don't want is to see your significant other, your man, on social media, liking pictures, commenting on their pictures. A lot of times there's some DMs involved, and that's what we don't want. But do we take it a little too far and we're just nonstop looking at everything. Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. We
We
do.
meaning other women, of course.
Okay. So you're saying TNA. TNA
Boobs
for an
and
old girl like
booty.
okay,
Boobs
because
and
the old
booty,
girl like me, you
okay?
gotta elaborate on that because I'm
Keep it
not
clean.
always
Boobs and
up to
booty.
the slang that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So TNA. So this is what
TNA.
they're looking for, and we know men are visual. They like to see it.
Absolutely.
They like to see it, and the
Mm-hmm.
girls on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everybody wants to show it because it gets
Yes.
attention.
Yes.
Attention makes people feel a certain way. So
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that the young ladies who check their partners' pages don't want their partners giving that type of attention.
Absolutely. You want to know that there's a certain aspect of your relationship that's just for you and him. If he's flirty with you because you're his girlfriend or significant other, and he's giving that same attention to random women online, that doesn't feel too good. That's,
Chica. Okay, so random women online. Okay, I get it because I wouldn't want my significant other to do it either. Okay, but at the end of the day, most of the time, these men are not going to see these women. These men are not going to see these women.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand what makes us get up in the morning. The facts say we get up in the morning and we check the social media to make sure that they're not looking at this TNA.
Well, from what I've heard, because I don't know firsthand.
Absolutely. I get it.
But from what I've heard, it becomes kind of like a thing you do, like a habit. Okay. It's a habit. You go online, you check your man, and there are men that check their girlfriends' pages too. I just had this conversation with married couple.
Okay.
And they do it. And there hasn't been infidelity in their relationship. It's just what you do, and one noticed that the other was, adding other, people of the opposite sex on their page and had a problem with it.
Okay.
At the end of the day, there are levels, and everybody has a different perception of what levels are to cheating. And there's micro cheating. And if you're looking, people think you're lusting after, and that's where it becomes an issue. So
okay, micro cheating. Sounds a little sneaky, huh?
Well, flat out cheating is, of course, having sex, but there's emotional cheating. There are levels to it, and it's all about everybody's comfort level and what might be okay for you, and you might not think it's a big deal, and might not think it's cheating. Someone else may think it is.
Okay. So just so I'm straight, because I like to get things straight. Sometimes I get a little confused. So jealousy, insecurity.
Well, do we really want to go there?
Yeah, we want to go there. We want to go. Is it insecurity?
But is it?
Is it insecurity? Because what I find is a lot of women do not value who they are, nor do they find themselves attractive enough to not let something like this cause a problem in their relationships.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So we can agree that there's a little bit of insecurity there. Okay.
Absolutely. Sometimes it may be insecurities based on past relationships experiences. It may be past issues in that current relationship that bring that on. There are a lot of reasons and a lot of levels to it.
Levels.
Always levels.
So the insecurities, the jealousy, the levels. So we can be a teeny bit jealous and a teeny bit insecure. I mean, just a teeny
little bit, a little healthy jealousy.
A little healthy jealousy. Okay, so let's talk about that. Define healthy jealousy, because I need to know what that looks like. What's healthy jealousy? I need to know. I think they want to know. I don't know. If you guys want to know, let us know. I want to know.
Nothing overtly crazy. Don't stalk me and pop in my house and doing the most at my job.
So if somebody is looking at your post and their girlfriend or their wife sees them looking and liking your post and you don't want their significant other to stalk you and to start calling you and to start saying different things, right?
Yes.
But yet you're posting things that might be provocative, because these women that are showing the TNA, I think that they know the response that they're going to get.
Absolutely. And it's up to the person what they do. Because
Okay.
you can keep scrolling. You can look and then just go about your day, go
You
about your business, and
can
keep scrolling up.
you can keep scrolling, but what about, us?
hmm
Let's talk about us,
Okay.
when it's flipped around and there's a good-looking guy and he's, muscle bound and maybe he's
hmm
a trainer or maybe he's just a nice-looking guy in a suit.
hmm
I love to see a guy in a suit.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
hmm
I might hit like. I might hit like.
hmm
Doesn't mean that I'm going to go crawling into the DMs.
I agree.
Because that's what I
Yeah.
envision when people, are
hmm
kind of liking these pictures and then they're literally crawling and trying to sneak into someone's
A
DMs.
lot of times it is just simply liking a photo.
Mm-hmm,
It is. It
mm-hmm,
is.
mm-hmm.
But some cases it's more than that.
Okay. Okay.
So,
And isn't it like that with everything though?
yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm still tripping on that little bit of jealousy and a
Little
little bit of
bit.
insecurity. But what about, is it sometimes, just the need for some women to fuss a little bit? I know
Mhm.
some women that kind of like the
Oh,
attention that they get when they fuss a little bit with their man. Is that a thing?
I mean, of course it's a thing. I've heard it's a thing.
You heard it's a thing.
I've
You
heard it's
heard
a
a
thing.
lot of
I
things,
do.
Chica.
What can I say?
You have heard
What
a
can I
lot
say?
of things.
Keep my
I'm
ears to the street.
I'm telling you, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so listen, it's like
Mhm.
this. You meet someone.
Yes.
You spend X amount of time with them,
Mhm.
right? Getting to know them. You're spending days and
Yes.
evenings. You're eating breakfast, lunch, and
Mhm.
possibly dinners. And you're just excited about this new person, right? You begin to develop a relationship with this person. You tell your girls, oh, I think this is the one. This is the one. We've been talking. We've been vibing for about
Yeah.
a week and a half, 2 weeks. Sometimes it even goes over into the month. And
Mhm.
you're just excited. I think this is the one for me. I think this is the one that's going to finally do me right. And then one day you decide that things are probably going a little too good. Is that a thing? Because sometimes I think we feel like things are going
Yes.
a little too good. And we need to check and make sure. We need to check the temperature a little bit just
Mhm.
to make sure that it is actually as good as we think it is.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like? What happens? What do they do?
Why would I know that?
Oh, because you hear so much. I thought
I know.
maybe you would hear that. I think
I don't know how to feel about this.
just kind of own it. Just own it. Just own it.
Yes.
You know a lot of things, and that's a
Mhm.
good thing. What we want to do is educate somebody,
Yes.
perhaps, and
I
let them know
mean,
how this looks.
when you are in a new relationship,
Okay.
of course, personally, these conversations should happen. And that's the problem. We're not having enough conversations in relationships, especially in the beginning. You need to vet the person you're with and ask them even how they feel about social media and how often they are on. Because unfortunately, it's a huge part of our day in today's world.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're somebody that's not comfortable with that, then maybe you need to find somebody that doesn't have social media.
That's a thought.
If that's not okay with you,
Mm-hmm.
of course, women are going to follow men. Men are going to follow women. It's just not crossing that line. There are men that are following, they have 4,000 followers on their page and they're all Instagram chicks.
Okay, Instagram chicks. Thank you.
Instagram
Thank you for
chicks.
keeping it PG.
You gotta keep it PG.
One of the things that is interesting about that, yes, we are women and they are men.
Mhm.
And most of the time, it is just you see something you like and you just hit a like.
Mhm.
Now if there's an engaging conversation, I think that becomes a problem. But I think that
Absolutely.
might not always be the initial thought
Mhm.
when they hit like. I think they probably just hit like. You think? I mean, you think?
It's
Let
absolutely possible.
me give you a scenario
Mhm.
because it's a situation. I want to change up some names because people get a little persnickety about those types of things, right?
Yes.
So you're feeling good with your mate, and
Mhm.
you check their social media, and they
Mhm.
don't like somebody's picture of their dog. Little Juju is so
Juju.
cute. Little Juju is
Not
so
Juju.
cute. Yes, Juju. Juju is so cute.
Uh-huh.
And you're at work and you are fuming now because
Mhm.
remember, we actually are spending a work day, according to some people,
Mhm.
checking our significant others' Instagram and Facebook pages, right? And other
Yeah.
things that are out there, I'm sure.
Mhm.
So now you see him liking little Juju's picture. So you try to call him. He doesn't answer. So now
Yes.
you're a little bit more upset because your vision is that he's over there petting Juju now because he liked Juju's
Mhm.
picture. Then you call, he doesn't answer. So you text. Oh, so who's Juju? So you got somebody a dog
Mhm. How
that you have.
dare you like a
How dare
dog's
you?
picture?
How dare you
Mhm.
like a dog's picture? But could it actually be that it's not Juju that they really like? Maybe it's the beautiful lady who owns Juju.
Holding Juju. Yes.
No, Juju was in the picture by
Just
herself.
Juju by himself?
Juju was in the picture
Okay.
by herself.
Okay.
This is a scenario where just because he liked little Juju's picture
Mm-hmm.
and Juju is owned by a beautiful young woman,
Yes.
she took the moment out of her day to make a phone call and then a nasty text trying to figure out why you're liking Juju's picture.
Well, I'm sure we have a lot of good answers to that, but I think we should take a little break.
Take a little break.
Take a little break and
okay,
gather
okay.
ourselves.
Okay. So we'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
We'll be back.
Welcome to Paradise Content Creation Studios, where your creativity finds its perfect home. Imagine a space where innovation meets inspiration at every corner. Our state-of-the-art facilities are designed to transform your ideas into extraordinary realities. Whether you're crafting cinematic masterpieces or viral content, we have it all covered. Join a community of creators who dare to dream and push the boundaries of possibility. With cutting-edge technology and a passionate team, your projects are destined for greatness. Step into a realm where every detail is meticulously crafted for your success. At Paradise Content Creation Studios, unleash the power of your imagination and watch it soar.
Hi, everybody. For those of you just joining us, I'm Chica.
And I'm Miss B. And this is Untamed Thoughts. Welcome back. Welcome back. We kind of ended on a very interesting note, Chica. Chica was running from some of my questions.
Never.
Some of my questions. Just want to mention that this particular broadcast is sponsored by BSB Event Spaces. The flyer that was up, when you go back and view this, call the number to book your latest events. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So Chica, back in the day,
Miss B.
back in the day when you were younger, right?
What you mean back in the day?
Back in the day.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I know. Back in the day. I was back in the day too. I was further back in the day. But we're not talking about me right now. We're talking about you. But back in the day, we didn't have social media.
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. We didn't have social media. And so it wasn't a thing to wake up and check someone's social media.
Mm-hmm.
But what was a thing is your girlfriend calling you. Because, I had my own phone back in the day. Aside from my parents' phone, I had a landline, believe it or not. Those of you who don't even know what that means, it's a telephone. Okay. I had a landline. So my girlfriends, if they saw someone that I was interested in or dealing with out somewhere, they would call me, hey, look, I saw so-and-so over there on Wright Street. Immediately, my mind goes to, okay, who lives on Wright Street? Who lives on Wright Street? So I automatically put him at someone's house on Wright Street doing the wrong thing.
A whole scenario, huh? Made up a whole scenario.
A whole scenario. So this is not really new. It's just the way that we do it.
Absolutely.
So it's not really new. We utilize those insecurities of ours, that little bit of jealousy and that little bit of insecurity. Yeah. And we have been doing it for a long time.
It's just magnified now because now it's in your face. So accessible. You see so much. I think that's what the problem is. You see too much. And you make up these scenarios and it's just, you have all these visuals of photos and likes, and, and it's just kind of just gets the wheels turning and, not everybody's, built for that.
Not everybody's built for that.
Not everybody is built for that.
Okay.
You don't want to see that.
So my big question would be, and those of you that are tuned in, if you want to, chime in on this at some point, either now or later when you viewed it again, what do we expect to gain from that behavior? What is it that this behavior causes? I think it causes discord. I think it causes disconnect. I think it causes problems in a new relationship.
Absolutely.
And in an existing relationship, it could take it so far to end in divorce. A fun fact, if we can have that, one of the fun facts also is that social media has been known to lead to relationship problems. Infidelity,
100%.
somebody slides into your DMs and, you start having this interaction in the DM with them until then it ends up on the telephone and then you're meeting for coffee and then conflict and divorce for those that are married. So this is a problem.
See, the problem is now everything's so accessible. So if you're having an issue with your significant other or spouse, the want to talk through it is not as apparent as it was. Because now, you're upset, you just go online, you talk to somebody, you meet somebody. So it's everything's accessible, and that's the problem.
That is a problem. I agree with you.
But you know what? Everything's a personal choice. For instance, I can go on social media, especially if I'm in a relationship.
Okay.
I'm going to try my best not to do anything to offend the person I'm with.
Right.
And if they do bring something to my attention, social media is not worth my relationship. So if it's an issue for you, I'll remove it. I'll delete it, of course, within reason.
Oh, so there's levels to that.
I mean,
as well. Because if it's an issue for your significant other, I mean, it might not be something that pertains to, little Juju.
If I'm liking Juju's picture, can't be mad I'm liking a dog's picture. I can see if I'm liking Juju's picture, said, where's the owner? And commenting that, then that's a problem.
Okay. But Juju's picture was liked. And in every other picture, Juju's owner is holding Juju.
Yes.
So it's almost like this young lady felt like he was sending a subliminal message to the owner. I mean, she created this.
Does happen a lot.
She created this whole scenario.
You want attention and you don't want to be obvious.
Okay.
Like Juju's picture.
Okay.
You can see it.
Because Juju is the love of her life. So if I like her picture, she'll notice me.
I like dogs. I like Juju.
Okay.
I like you.
Is that how it works?
I think so.
I like dogs. I like Juju. I like you. Okay. I get it. But really, can a relationship survive this? I mean, I feel like, shouldn't a woman do her best to not become self-defeating? Shouldn't we do our best to try to establish a relationship with the person that we're with and to learn their likes and dislikes and to learn who they are prior to getting vested in that relationship?
100%.
It to me, it's a no-brainer. When I am interested in someone, I take the time to get to know their likes, to get to know their dislikes. It is a very good thing. You remember that Nearby Friends? Back in the day, Facebook had this Nearby Friends.
That was just as dangerous.
Oh my goodness. That was so dangerous because I don't know if you guys remember it, but people actually could tell where you were.
And look at it all day.
And look at it all day long. And you had couples that were having issues because people were lying about their whereabouts. They were truly, truly trying to hide the things that they were doing. Now, in cases like that, it is horrible. It is horrible. And you have to reevaluate your stance on that relationship. But I'm talking about, the people that, just start liking a post. I mean, they like something that someone posted and it causes a problem. And I would say, I'm not an expert, but I would say 8 times out of 10, it's going to cause some type of conversation to happen.
Of course. I mean, you have to pick and choose your battles. And, if there is blatant disrespect, then that's something that needs to be addressed.
Right.
But if it's just, man scrolling through social media,
Right.
then, it's there's definitely levels, and you have to pick and choose your battles, because not everything is what it looks like, and I do realize that, and
Okay.
that I think,
Right.
that happens with age. As you get older, you realize that, or when you learn to heal yourself. Because if you're coming from an unhealed lens,
Okay.
you're going to think everything is
Is an
one
issue.
way, is an issue. You make everything an issue when it doesn't need.
So how do we now handle that little bit of insecurity and that little bit of jealousy? What is it that we need to bring to our relationships as women to help our guys, help the dude in your life, help them understand what it is that triggers you, what it is that causes you to behave in this way? Honesty.
First and foremost, I feel like before you go into a relationship, you need to do the work on yourself first. Because if you are not good to yourself or good for yourself, how are you going to be good for somebody else?
I agree.
And if you're coming from a healed, healthy space, you can handle things a little differently.
I agree.
That's my thought. But as far as seeing these things, conversation should be had, and it should be done in a respectful manner. And if he really cares, there's going to be compromise, or say, you know what, this is me fighting with you is just not worth it.
Right. I agree. I agree. Now, I was told by a young woman, significantly younger than you, Chica. And she told me that sometimes when she argues about these types of things, she feels that it brings her and her man closer. I couldn't wrap my head around that concept. It did make sense to me, because being who I am, I'm not one to do a whole lot of arguing and fighting. I'm not checking anybody's social media all the time. Obviously, I see the things that are obvious, but I'm not digging deep into someone's post to find out what he said or how he said it. Did he text? I'm not looking at that. I never check anybody's phone. I think that is, just very self-defeating, because what you need to know, you will. And if you need to check the phone, you already know.
And when you look,
you
will find it. That's for sure.
So is it a possibility that it could bring, people closer if they they behave like this?
I don't think so. In the beginning, because always the first fight, you say, everything's so, in the beginning of every relationship, the relationships are fire. It's like, you listen to each other, everything you say, you hear intently, you listen, you care. Not that you don't care, going forward, but after a while, if it's constant fighting, complaining, it just gets old.
That honeymoon stage.
The honeymoon stage, it's the best. Those first 1 to 3 months of every relationship.
Isn't that wonderful?
Man, if I wish I could just bottle that up.
Exactly. And guys, let me tell you, let Miss B be the first to tell you, listen, that honeymoon phase is the best. You guys have mastered that.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have mastered that. The only thing that I would say, and I'm speaking for all my girls out there, can we keep it going, though? Can we keep it going?
What you did together, you got to do to keep her.
Exactly. Can we keep it going?
Yes.
If you text her, just random, hey, sweetie, hey, cutie, if you did that at the beginning, during those first couple of months, those first weeks, why can't you just do that periodically every now and then?
And it'll avoid so many problems, like even the ones we're talking about tonight.
Exactly.
At least minimize.
It will minimize it, right?
Absolutely.
Because if you don't give us a reason, because I've heard about this unlocking the crazy and all of these different things, we know that we as women, we become a bit territorial.
Absolutely.
So we don't want anybody even to walk next to our man. I don't know what that's about. But
please.
Oh,
Please.
Is this something you heard?
Yeah,
is this more of something you heard?
I heard,
Okay.
I'm spicy.
Yes, you are a bit spicy and a bit feisty as well.
Yes.
And that's good. That's good, except for him, because If somebody comes near that man, it's a problem. It's a problem. And I think that it's a lot of women. And I'm not saying that it's anything wrong with that. I think that you should, enjoy your person. I think that you should be very, very fond of your person. You should have a certain amount of, deep respect for your person. And you don't want anybody to mess with that. And I get it. I get it. But some behaviors are just a bit on the extra side.
Absolutely.
You agree?
I agree 100%.
I mean, because I want to make sure that we try to, prioritize at some point in our lives, make normal just getting to know each other and keeping that going. Because what you find out about a person when you're in that honeymoon phase, why does it have to disappear? Why does it have to disappear? And guys, I'm not trying to give away any secrets. I'm not trying to give away any secrets for us women, but I will say that a little bit of attention trumps no attention at all.
Always.
If you're not the type of person that texts all day, and you're not the type of person that's going to be calling 15 times a day, do it sometimes.
I mean, the calling and texting 24/7 is just unhealthy. We have lives as adults.
Do we? Because old girl said she needs a check.
Most people have lives and jobs. Okay. I mean, our job's a little different than hers. Okay.
I'm just saying because she said she needs a check.
I mean, for me, I can't speak for everybody.
Okay.
I mean, I was someone when I was younger that needed that 24/7 attention and texting and calling, but now I've gotten a little mature.
Okay.
And my life is a little busy.
Right.
My life is a lot busy.
Okay.
And I still want the attention, but
Absolutely.
I don't need to hear from the person I'm with 24/7. I do expect there to be some communication at some point in the day, but it doesn't have to be,
all
constant all day.
Okay.
Whereas younger Chica, yes, absolutely. An hour, a couple hours go by and what do you... Really? Like, really?
Right.
Really? This is what we're doing?
So if you call them or text them, they don't answer. Okay.
Oh.
You check their social media and in the time frame from the time that you called them or text and the time frame where you check their social media, they have liked some post. What happened?
The nerve.
What
the
does
audacity.
That look like?
The audacity. Like, really?
Yeah. What do people do? What really happens?
Set somebody off, I tell you.
Oh, my goodness. I
mean.
I believe it. I believe it. I definitely believe that that's a trigger. That's a trigger.
Yeah, everybody has different triggers. Everybody definitely has different triggers. You know, and
No, we don't know. We're waiting for you to tell us because you heard a lot of stuff.
I hear a lot of things. Okay?
We need answers.
I can't help it. I know people. I know crazy people. Okay?
Crazy people. Yes. Because the crazy gets turned on. That's what I hear. Okay.
Yes.
I got you. So, it's very difficult to keep a relationship alive when this behavior is happening. But there's probably ways that you can do that, right? So if it's me and I'm having an issue, because I'm a bit practical. I look at things through quite different eyes than some other people would.
She really does.
She
talks me off that ledge every day.
I mean, because I think I'd rather be happy. I'd rather enjoy the person that I'm with than creating. And don't get me wrong. Hey, bro, don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't do this. If you have a person in your life and they do not like for you liking pictures and they do not like for you commenting, then just don't do it. It can't be that serious because that's a small price to pay for having a good woman in your life. It's a small price. I feel like it's a small price.
Yeah.
It might not be my thing. It might not be Chica's thing, maybe, because she hears a lot.
I do.
But why not normalize trying to make your significant other happy?
Absolutely.
And if it means that you might see something that you like, you still like it. It doesn't take away. If you don't hit the like button, it doesn't take away the fact that you like the picture. It doesn't take away from anything. It doesn't take away from your manhood. It doesn't take anything away from who you are. But what it can take away is your peace, your happiness and your joy within your
Mhm.
relationship.
Yes.
And I think that that's the only thing that women are concerned about. They're not concerned initially that you're just going to go running to the internet chick. Is that what we call them? Internet chick? Okay, the
Instagram chicks.
Instagram chick, the Instagram chick. So they're not necessarily concerned with that at that moment because
Yes.
a lot of those women are very untouchable,
Absolutely.
right? A lot of them.
Yeah,
A lot of them.
they are.
Unless they were your friend from high school, and now we
Mhm.
got a whole
Someone you used
nother
to work
problem.
with 4 jobs ago, or there was some kind of connection at some point.
Okay.
But yeah.
So those are those levels you were talking
Oh,
about.
there's levels. There's levels, friend. There's always levels, okay?
There's
I will
always
school you on the levels.
So let me get this straight, just for kicks and giggles.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a high school friend.
Mhm.
Okay. We're friends. Social media. Okay. We might every now and then like each other's pics.
Okay.
Not everybody likes that happens. But it's a friend. 30. Oh, I'm about to tell my age.
Girl.
A few years ago,
Girl.
they were a part of my world. They were a
Yeah.
part of my everyday world.
Mhm.
And it was strictly friendship.
Mhm. There's nothing wrong with that.
They live all the way across the country somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an issue. It's an issue. What do you say?
Yeah.
What do you say to that? Like, how do you handle, listen, this is a part of my life. And I think that we all have to respect that there was a life before we
Before.
met.
Absolutely.
And if we can kind of tame that little bit of
Mhm.
insecurity and that little bit of jealousy, if we can kind of tone that down a little bit, it probably would work a little better in our relationships. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, we all had lives before our relationships. And, being that we have, and we are going to cross paths with people from our past, whether it's high school friends, an old friend that we had of the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that, as long as I would think you'd make your partner feel secure and say, hey, this is such and such,
Mhm.
and a lot of times those conversations don't happen. So it leads to
Most
insecurity, and then you mention something, and then, the person gets defensive, and that's
Mhm.
when it goes from, 0 to 10. And
Mm-hmm.
when that doesn't need to happen, not that you have to sit there and explain every single aspect like that's your parents, but when you are in a relationship or married, there is a level of respect that should be there.
I agree. If we normalize respecting one another, then this would not be as big of an issue. Of course, we can't eliminate it altogether.
Oh, no.
We probably can't eliminate it even a little bit. We probably
Yeah.
can't put a dent in it. But what we can do is we can give everybody in our lives the opportunity to be who they are and respect that.
Absolutely.
And in respecting that, if Chica don't want you liking the Instagram chicks,
Don't be liking, okay?
don't be liking the Instagram chicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like there's nothing wrong with it, then explain to Chica, because Chica knows things.
No, I know
Explain to
things.
Chica why that shouldn't be a problem for her. Because I think that you, being her significant other, can actually make her feel comfortable enough where that probably won't be an issue.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's what we do wrong most of the time. We do not communicate. There's no communication. There's no understanding. And believe me, if you have that, then you're good. Then you're good.
I think more conversations need to happen. And that's the thing that just a lot of times doesn't happen, and I think that comes with time or maturity, or, like I said before, sometimes you just have to work on yourself. And you know what? If you have somebody that is not on the same page and doesn't think it's a big deal, and it's that much of an issue to you, instead of fighting with them 24/7, walk away. How about that?
You're going to walk away from your boo-boo?
Don't nobody want to walk away from their boo-boo.
Nobody wants to walk away from their boo-boo.
But if you're not getting the things that you need, and that's the thing, we will just, especially once months are in it, a year's in it, we just like, all right, we've put some, I know how it is. You put some man hours in there. It's like the last thing you want to do is just walk away. And it's like, you put some real work in here.
Absolutely. Now that's what we need a check for. That's what
Okay.
we need to check for.
I
Putting that
agree.
work in for that
Yeah,
relationship.
that's a job.
That's
That
a
is a
job.
job.
It's a job.
Yes.
But it's a job well worth it if it can
Mhm.
lead to a, relationship that's built on love, trust, understanding,
Yes.
and all those warm and fuzzy
Yeah.
types of things. I think
Mhm.
that is a good point. A lot of times we don't leave. We don't leave when something's not
Mhm.
serving us. And if they are the type of people that are going to be Instagram chick hungry,
Thirsty.
thirsty. I'm
Thirsty.
trying to keep it.
You know what? I'll say it, okay? You know I'ma say it.
Say it because I'm trying to.
Little thirst buckets, okay?
Thirst buckets. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is true.
Yes.
This is all true. At the end of the day, though, I think that we
Mhm.
could do a little bit better on the front end. If you're gonna
Mhm.
stalk your significant other's Instagram, Facebook, other social media,
Mhm.
perhaps you need to do that before you fall deeply in. Because at that point now, it's harder to
Mhm.
walk away.
Yes.
Harder to walk away from something that felt good to you than something that you look at and you say, "Oh my goodness, I can't do this." Right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But why don't we?
Because those first month, we had that conversation.
It's
that
that
first
love
month,
bomb.
it feels
Yeah,
so
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That needs to be a whole other show.
It
Love
does.
bombing. That
It
will be a
does.
whole other show.
Okay.
Because
I'm
that can be a whole 5 shows.
I'm with that.
But
This could lead to so
Mhm.
many of the topics
Yes.
because it's important that the behavior of stalking your significant other's social media is and can be and most times is a problem. And it's not
Absolutely.
necessarily a problem for the other person because believe it or not, sometimes it makes the man want to walk away when a woman does this. And don't get me wrong, he's as vested in the situation as you are, which is why he stays. And I think that we need to, also point that out because I know our brothers are out there saying, but wait a minute, I didn't just walk away from her because she's crazy. I love her. I want to be with her. I'm trying to make her see that it's only her. But every time, if she even sees me online, it's like, what you doing online? Who you looking at? I've had conversation with people like, can you talk to her? Miss B, can you talk to her? And I'm saying, I don't know. You kind of made her crazy. What can I do? But I will talk to her and I will talk to anybody because I happen to want us as women to be happy.
Yes.
And I think a
And
lot
you're
of
all
times
about that. You
I'm
really
all
are.
about that.
You really are.
I'm all about not hurting yourself. Stop hurting your own feelings. Because if you know you have someone in your life that's doing these things, walk away. Walk away.
I mean, if you have, for me, if I have a man that's doing all the right things across the board, and the one issue, who am I kidding?
Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding,
Who am I
Chica?
kidding?
Really, who are you kidding?
It's strict over here.
Exactly. They could be doing everything right, okay? And what she was trying to say was if they're doing everything right and that's the only thing that they're doing wrong, that she would be willing to kind of... But no.
The older Chica,
Okay.
the slightly older Chica.
The slightly older
might
Chica.
handle things a little differently. If I'm getting everything that I need in a relationship, and the one thing is he follows some women that he may never, ever meet in his lifetime. As long as he's not disrespectful and, DMing and posting, comment some nasty, vulgar things, that's a problem for me.
Fellas, as long as you're not disrespectful, I think that's big. I think that needs to be in bold letters somewhere. As long as you're not disrespectful. We have to normalize respecting one another. And if you have a beautiful woman in your life, and ladies, if you have a wonderful man in your life, practice being respectful.
And have the conversations.
Please.
Have the conversations.
Please.
Yes.
So the Chica
Communicate.
The Chica of 2025.
You know what? So I'm not doing this with you.
I mean, we're 4 months in. So the Chica of 2025.
Chica of 2025, 4 months in. It's an amazing Chica.
Okay. All right. And we're gonna, give the benefit of the doubt. The
Yes.
Chica of 2025.
Yes.
I like that. And,
Okay.
we having a little bit of fun with it, but it is a
Mhm.
serious issue. And I hate to see young women in particular because
Mhm.
us old broads, we've been through some stuff
Mhm.
and we should know that before we enter into a relationship that we
Mhm.
really should learn some things about that person. But the young girls, they see someone, they hear them speak, they get, oh,
Mhm.
he's so fine. And, he said all the right things and he
Yes.
smells so good because they be smelling good, girl.
What?
They be smelling good, right? And they get roped in. They get
Mhm.
roped in, and before you know it, they're in love with this man, and they find out that he's a little bit disgusting on the internet.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
happens. It
it
happens.
happens a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, that we have to normalize respect. Normalize respect because you can tell very early on if a man is willing to respect you in the way that you need him to. And I think that that's also important.
Mhm.
I think that we have to really, really tell our young sisters and young brothers that
Mhm.
we have to normalize respect. So really, I'm glad that we had this conversation, Chica.
Yes.
We've had a good time.
It has.
Thank you for knowing some things.
Hey,
Thank you
I
for
know a
knowing.
little bit about a lot, okay?
But if I'm going to say something, just to kind of wrap up the
Mhm.
show, if your partner is making every attempt to make you happy, then focus on those moments that the two of you create. Stop going to look for the moments that they're creating with others because you probably will find them. And then
Mhm.
you negate everything that you put in. We want to learn each other's strengths. We want to learn each other's weaknesses. We want to learn the hopes and dreams and build trust through communication.
Oh, Miss B, you always know what to say. You
Listen,
always know what
listen.
to say, my friend,
I just
okay?
want us to I just want us to turn inward
Yes,
within our relationship and
absolutely.
stop hurting yourself because sometimes a like is just a like.
Like is just like.
Chica.
So, on that note, join us for our next episode, Tuesday, April 22nd. We'll be discussing the topic, unfortunately, a lot of people have experience with situationships.
See you
So,
next time.
see you next time.
Thank
Thank you.
you.